Welcome back now to a story you'll only see on 12 News. The I-Team is asking districts about safety in schools in the first report of our series, Close Calls.
Comes on the heels of a busy few weeks for law enforcement as schools across the state have been inundated with lockdowns and threats. Amid this spike in school threats, we wanted to find out how often guns are actually making their way onto campuses.
And it turns out that data is actually not being tracked in Arizona. So 12 News I-Team reporter Bianca Bono worked to find out.
Anytime a gun is around, it's dangerous.
You never know when it's going to be misused, either accidentally or on purpose.
We shouldn't have guns on our schools.
We need to protect our children because if you're not safe in school, where are you going to be safe at?
February 2nd, 2023, a Red Mountain High School student in Mesa reports seeing a classmate with a gun. By the next period, that classmate is gone, leading to a frantic search of the campus. 2 police officers, the school security team, and all of administration looking to find him. When they do, a school discipline report shows officials try to grab the student who breaks free, exposing his back and the grip of a tan and black handgun. The school goes into lockdown, and the student was eventually caught off campus. A close call that happens far too often in Maricopa County.
We know these kids are getting a hold of weapons.
The I-Team requested records on the number of guns seized at the 20 largest districts with high schools in Maricopa County. Since January 2019, Mesa Public Schools, the largest district in the state, has found 12 guns on its campuses. Half of those seizures happened last school year alone, which is why this school year they've installed a weapons detection system.
How quickly did your weapons detection system actually detect a gun?
Well, that's an interesting story too, because we launched it at Skyline in April. After about a month or so, we worked out all the protocol bugs, and then we launched it the very next week at Mesa High School, and about 20 minutes into that, a kid came through with a gun.
In the West Valley,
Safety is our #1 priority.
the Tolleson Union High School District reported 15 guns on its campuses since 2019.
We know that when there's 15 that we're able to remove from our schools through our efforts, that we still worry about how many we haven't detected.
And Phoenix Union High School District, the largest high school district in the state, reported at least 44 guns seized.
The county-wide discipline records highlight just how widespread this problem is. 16 out of the 20 districts seized at least 1 gun.
And since 2019, at least 114 guns were found.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, it's shocking.
The I-Team brought our findings to Superintendent of Public Instruction Tom Horn, the head of the Department of Education.
The numbers are high, but none of them have led to a mass shooting at all.
But some of them did lead to violence. You know, some of these seizures came after SROs received credible information that a student was making a threat against a school, posting a photo with a gun in the bathroom, for example. In another incident, a student left a football game with a gun that they had and got into an apparent road rage incident and shot a woman.
It's data we had to provide the department because right now, Arizona is one of only a few states that does not track the number of guns found in schools. Under the 1994 Gun-Free Schools Act, schools must report weapons incidents to the state, and states are supposed to report to the U.S. Department of Education. But Arizona's Department of Education sends out an optional survey. And in the 2022-2023 school year, the I-Team found the data didn't match what districts directly reported to us. Many districts didn't respond at all.
I'm wondering how you make informed decisions on school safety when you don't know the scope of the problem.
Well, you're giving us an opportunity to ask the public to make sure that their school districts enforce the law against bringing guns to schools and report to us and report the student to the police. If students know that other students have been prosecuted, I think that would go a long way toward solving that problem.
Last month, Phoenix police sharing video from the first day of school. A high school student was found with a firearm. In Mesa and Tolleson, officials say students caught with guns have stated they brought them because they thought it was cool. Others claim to have brought them for their own protection.
You got to ask yourself, why do they feel threatened?
If a gun is in a backpack, what if the safety's not on? What if the student puts the backpack down wrong? What if, the gun goes off?
114 close calls.
It's happening everywhere. We're all having guns on campus.
We're now joined by Bianca in studio to talk more about I mean, I'm watching this as a parent and my jaw is on the floor. I cannot believe that there isn't a system in place already where they are tracking these cases.
Yeah, that was the biggest shock factor for us too. We were talking a little bit before during the story that we had the idea to do this piece months ago in April, actually, after a school threat came about. And, you know, I think someone in our newsroom said, I wonder how often there are actually guns found on campuses.
Yes.
So I said, you know, let me find out. So we reached out to the Department of Education thinking it would be a pretty quick answer and there would be data that they were tracking.
Sure.
When we found out they weren't, we said, okay, this is going to be an uphill battle here. So we started with police departments, seeing if they would have the data readily available, but you know, they're so inundated with other requests. So that's why we decided to go directly to school districts. And it took us months to get to this point to have, you know, a relatively complete data set to actually put a story together, but we still recognize that it's probably not perfect. We didn't hear back from every district we wanted to, so this is really just a small sample.
What hope is coming out of this is that when you talk to the Department of Education, it sounds like they are willing to start tracking these cases that are happening.
Yes, you know, a big part of our interview with Tom Horn, the superintendent of public instruction, was why aren't you tracking this now? Clearly it is a problem. We're seeing all of these threats in the past couple of weeks. It's so scary for students, for parents, for teachers. So he said there's only so much they can do at the state level, but I asked him if he would support legislation requiring school districts to report guns that they find on their campuses to the state. He said absolutely yes. So we'll be following up on that.
You have a second part that's airing tonight at 10, and yet it's pretty wild that this is all happening. This story is all coming together this week, especially on the heels of all of the threats that all across Arizona, across the country have been dealing with. What's happening tonight at 10?
Yeah, so we want to take a closer look at solutions. Obviously, we have identified the problem. 114 guns at least found in Maricopa County school districts with high schools. Only looking at districts with high schools. So what are districts doing to try to get creative to combat this problem and address it? We're sitting down again with Tolleson and Mesa, who we featured in this piece, and talking with them about some ideas that they've rolled out this school year alone to address this issue, ranging from, you know, weapons detection systems, which we talked about there, to a data system that will, you know, identify maybe red flag students who need some intervention. So we'll dive deeper tonight at 10 o'clock.
No, it's interesting. I remember when they made the big change in Mesa to have metal detection at every single high school, and now in some of the junior highs, they're having them there as well. But it sounds like this is a necessary step that unfortunately is the reality that we have to take.
Right. You have, you know, of course, you don't want a student to bring a gun to campus in the first place. So how do you solve that problem? You know, somebody a lot smarter than me will have to figure that out. But schools are obviously responding and trying to at least detect them when they're coming on their campus. And so far, as of last week, Mesa had 0 guns on their campuses so far this school year since they've rolled out that weapons detection system. So obviously, if you look at it, you know, from a data standpoint, it is working.
It is working. All right, I cannot wait for that second part happening at 10 o'clock. It's such important information. It's vital information that we need to know here in Arizona. Rachel, back over to you.
Yeah, great series. Close calls, guys. Thank you, ladies.